Welcome, Ranger fans. This is the Rink Rap Podcast presented by Forever Blueshirts. I'm Jim Cerny. Great to be back with you. Missed you last week, but was away for the holidays and took that week off from the podcast. But we're back this week and certainly a heck of a lot to talk about, to say the least. And as we get set to kind of flip the calendar from 2024 to 2025, I want to lead off the show right off the bat and just thank all of you. Because I'm so appreciative for your support, not only of the podcast, but of all the work we do at foreverblueshirts.com, all of our Ranger coverage, which is 365 days a year. I know you got your beat writers and everything, and, you know, they do their important columns, and we'll get to Larry Brooks's latest column in just a bit, and they do their fine work, but we do everything Rangers related over at Forever Blue Shirts, and you've taken notice of it. This past year, since I joined the organization, those page views are way up, and we want them to continue trending up that way as well. And your support of the podcast, which is part of the overall support of Forever Blue Shirts, is greatly appreciated. So thank you so much. And yeah, look at that right over my heart. It's an NY. I know it's not a Ranger, quarter zip. It's the Mets Christmas present. My son, love it. Juan Soto. Got to feel positive, right? And speaking of positive, I know there's not a lot of positive with the New York Rangers right now, but we're going to start with a couple different positives, at least start the show on an upbeat mode, right? We're about to go into a new year and, resolutions and all that, turn the page, 2025, right? So here are a couple Ranger positives we can turn to. One, if you watched the game last night, you know where I'm going to start, and that's with Filip Chytil. Boy, that is as good and as dynamic a game as I've seen from Filip Chytil in a long time. Long time. That, to be honest, one of his better games as a Ranger over the course of his career, but certainly in recent memory, certainly in the last couple seasons. Last year, of course, was injury marred, and this year he's had a good start. Then he was injured for a bit, and he hasn't been the same since coming back. Last night, he was a different player. Apparently, Peter Laviolette told him, go, get skating, skate fast. He gave him that advice. Laviolette said after the game, he gave that advice to Chytil before the game. And boy, was there jump in Chytil's step last night. And it was fun to watch. He was the Rangers' best skater by a mile, creating chances. The goal he scored, he created the opportunity, the original opportunity off the rush, the zone entry. He created that with his speed and skating down the center of the ice and over the blue line. And then, then the Rangers set up nicely. They get a shot on net, and boom, who goes to the net to cash in the rebound goal? But Filip Chytil. So a lot to like there. Had a career high 7 shots on goal in that game. Hey, maybe it's coming around for him. Maybe it's time for him. Maybe 2025 is going to be his year. Think positive, right? So Filip Chytil, we start with him. How about Brennan Othman coming back after a 2-month absence from his upper body injury, got the cast off, and he was finally back in the Hartford Wolfpack lineup. First time since Game 3 of the AHL season. Othman picked up an assist in his first game back, was pretty physical as well. So he's back in the lineup. That's a positive. He's one of your top prospects in the Rangers organizations, right? Him and Gabe Perreault. So probably top 2. So good to see him back. And you know what? If things continue to trend downward as they are for the Rangers, or even if they're just even level, I think you see Brennan Othman sooner rather than later up in New York. And I think that's a good thing. Let's see what you got in the kid, before you decide to, trade him for another veteran or give him that full-time opportunity. Plan on him having a full-time opportunity next season. Let's give him some runway this season. And, first, keep him down at the AHL. Let him get his game legs and all that. But soon as he does, and soon as he's ready to come up, I'd bring him up. Third line, sure. Top 6, why not? I need to see more of Riley Smith. I don't think so. So that's a positive. Speaking of Gabe Perreault, there's a positive. Perreault and Drew Fortescue are representing the United States at the World Junior Championship. And Perreault's got himself 4 points in 3 games so far, 2 goals, 2 assists, though the U.S. coming off that loss to Finland the other night. So they're 2-0-0-1 so far in the preliminary round. big game tonight. I know the Rangers don't play. You got to tune in tonight. And I'm not referring to the Winter Classic, the Blackhawks and the Blues. USA, Canada, sold out arena in Ottawa on New Year's Eve to close out the preliminary round Group A action at the World Junior Championships. United States and Canada, love it. Love it. Got to tune in. Must watch TV. And hey, let's see how Gabe Perreault plays on the big stage. We've seen him in big moments before, certainly at Boston College and in last year's World Junior Championship when he helped the United States win gold. But here's another opportunity. He's on the top line. It's got a lot of spotlight's going to be on him. He was held pointless against Finland. Let's see how he bounces back. Big game against Canada tonight. So positive there, the development of Gabe Perreault. And I'm going to give you a personal positive that not a lot of you know, if any of you know, who Connor McCollum is. But Connor McCollum is a goaltender for the Danbury Hat-Tricks in the FPHL. FPHL is that notch below the ECHL. So basically single A minor league hockey. And I've had the great opportunity over the past several years to help out, do some work with the Hat-Tricks, with their broadcasts and some website work, and also with the Hudson Valley Venom this season in the same league. And, I really have an affinity and a feel and feel part of the FPHL family. So it's pretty cool that Connor McCollum signed a PTO with the Hartford Wolfpack today and will be the backup goaltender, I believe, tonight for Dylan Garand, who's expected to start for the Wolfpack tonight. Louis Domingue is banged up, so I guess they just needed somebody to fill in to be that backup goalie. And I thought it was going to be Boyko, who's called up from the ECHL, but I don't know why he would get called up. And then at the same time, they would sign McCollum to the PTO. If they just needed McCollum to be the e-bug, for example, I don't think you need to sign him to a PTO. But whatever the rules are there in the AHL, he got a PTO with the Hartford Wolfpack. It probably lasts all of 24 hours, but good on Connor McCollum, good for the FPHL to get one of their players this type of opportunity. Throw on that Wolfpack jersey. Hopefully he gets to take it home with him and then tell all his friends that, he appeared in a Wolfpack uniform, or, he was signed at least for one day in the AHL. Good on Connor McCollum, and good luck to him tonight. Okay, let's move on. This is where we're at with the New York Rangers. They lost 5-3 to the Florida Panthers on Monday, and the focus here is on critiquing the loss. That's what it's come to now. We rate the losses of the New York Rangers. We don't look ahead to possible playoff, ramifications. We don't look at the standings, the Rangers moving up and down. I mean, that flew out the window weeks ago at this point. No, we rate their losses. Oh, they were terrible again. Oh, they did nothing good. Oh, this fourth liner. Boy, the fourth line was really good in this game, or whatever we come up with. We rate the losses. That's how far they've fallen. Last place, Metropolitan Division. That's how far the Rangers have fallen because we critique their losses. That's what we care about. This one wasn't as bad as that one. Oh, they lost 6-2 to Tampa Bay, but outside of the horrendous special teams play, they were pretty good. And you know what they were? They lost 6-2 though. Like there doesn't seem to be that anger anymore, from the fan base that they lost another game. No, it's this part sucked, but this part was much better. And so too it was in Florida last night. Listen, Rangers didn't play a bad game. But of course, a lot of the things that have plagued them in their 4-15-0 stretch, that's a couple months in now, reared its head. Mika Zibanejad makes a blind backhand pass in his own zone, turns it over right onto the stick of Gus Forsling, and leads directly to a game-opening goal 3 minutes into the game. Oh my gosh. On so many fronts. Terrible defensive play in his own zone, just a lazy play. And Mika Zibanejad again, makes a mistake and it ends up in the back of their net. Igor Shesterkin not bailing out Mika Zibanejad. Igor Shesterkin, not bailing out his team like he did earlier in the season. And this is not, totally criticizing Igor. It's just to say they relied on him so much at the beginning of the year, so much in the playoffs last year, that you expect so much from the highest paid goalie in the NHL starting next season. Not only in the NHL, in NHL history. And yet, his game has really fallen back to mediocre level. He had some great moments, especially when it was 2-0 and the Panthers were about to bury the Rangers over those next few minutes. He made 3 stops point blank, 2 on a power play, 1 at even strength, that kept the Rangers in the game. And they eventually did come back. And now here we go to rating, the loss again. Boy, it wasn't that bad a loss because the Rangers competed. And I found myself, writing these type headlines after the game for my game story and for my 3 takeaways. Here I am writing about their compete level. Like it's a surprise. Like it's a shock that the New York Rangers competed against the defending Stanley Cup champions, that they raised their level of play from just the miserable level it's been at, for weeks now. That's where we're at with the New York Rangers. That's how we're rating them. That's how we're grading them right now. Not on winning and losing, points in the standings, looking up. No, it's like, that loss was better. And here's the thing. It was. I thought their compete level, again, going back to that phrase, was really good. I thought, they owned the puck for large swaths of this game. They generated good scoring chances, 5-on-5 and on their power play. I thought Sergei Bobrovsky was outstanding last night, especially that third period for Florida. He was the difference in the game. But the game was there to be had. And you heard it on the broadcast. You heard Sam and Joe referred to it a couple of times. Rangers got back to 2-2. Immediately, they give up a goal. It's 3-2. They come back. They tie it early in the third. They get to 3-3. They can't get over the hump. It's just where they're at right now. But yeah, Chris Kreider scored his first goal in 10 games. Ryan Lindgren scored his first goal in an eon, 28 games, I think. And then, Chytil we touched on for his first goal in 7 games. So you got some guys off the schneid, and all around it was a better game. But, you go back to the defensive miscues, the missed assignments in their own end, letting Florida get in, create chances off the rush, and then score off the opportunities that they created off the rush. The game-winning goal, Jesper Boquist, absolutely backs off K'Andre Miller with speed on the rush coming into the offensive zone. He doesn't score on the first shot, but then Miller and Borgen lose Boquist, who's all alone to the side of the net, to bang in a rebound, chip it past Shesterkin, who again juggled it, did not play the shot from the point from Boquist's brother, Adam Boquist, didn't play it cleanly, juggled it, dropped it, and Boquist, untouched, is able to bang it into the net. So many of the things that have been going wrong for the Rangers reared their heads in another loss last night. But again, we rate the losses. As far as losses go, this one's a heck of a lot better than a lot of their recent no-shows, right? And some good things came out of the Tampa Bay game as well. Now, to Peter Laviolette's credit, he's hearing none of it. He said, at the end of the day, we're in the business of winning. We didn't win. It wasn't good enough. That is the message you need to send. But I'm sure when they look at film, he's going to be pointing out a lot of the good things that the Rangers did do in that 5-3 loss. But that's where we are right now with the New York Rangers. This is where we're at. We are rating their losses. That's a tough stretch. So, we started with some positive, right? We did mention 4-15-0 a couple times already. That's not a positive. Rangers do not play today before we flip the calendar at midnight and head into 2025. However, by the time the ball drops in Times Square, do you realize the New York Rangers, the defending President's Trophy winners, the team that won or set franchise records with 55 wins and 114 points last season, the team that was 2 wins shy of reaching the Stanley Cup final, the team that started this season 5-0-1, a 6-game unbeaten streak, that team, those New York Rangers, when the calendar flips tonight, by time it does, they could be in last place in the Eastern Conference. 16 teams in the Eastern Conference. The Rangers could be last in the conference, and they could be 29th overall in the league standings. I mean, here, I'm going to shut up for a second. Let that sink in. How you feeling about that one? Think of those numbers. Like, we've already been sitting on last place in the Metropolitan Division for a bit, but you kidding me? So if the Sabres win their game Tuesday night, the Red Wings win their game Tuesday, the Rangers fall to last place in the Eastern Conference. If the Anaheim Ducks win their game Tuesday, the Rangers tumble all the way to 29th in the National Hockey League. Oh my. All right. We let that sink in a little bit. Take it in again. Those are tough facts to face if you're the New York Rangers. So, okay. You've traded Jacob Trouba. You traded Capo Caco. I didn't have a chance to weigh in on the Capo Caco trade. I mean, I did on the website, of course, at Forever Blueshirts, but here on the podcast, didn't have a chance to weigh in on that. Real quick thought. And I don't think anybody's going to be surprised by my take because I talked about this on the podcast before. It just felt like it was time. Time for Capo Caco and the Rangers to divorce. He's never going to be what the Rangers thought he was going to be, at least not in New York. And I don't think anywhere. I think we know what he is as an NHL player right now. Maybe he'll produce a little bit more in Seattle. You know, right now he's got a golden opportunity. Jordan Eberle is out. So Caco's going to play a top 6 role. He's going to get, good power play minutes as well. They are going to find out soon enough if he's got enough skill to be that player, quote unquote, that player for them, an offensive force. Ultimately, on a good team in the NHL, like the Rangers had been, I think Capo Caco is what he is. I think he's a third line player. I think he's responsible defensively. I think he gets in on the forecheck. He's tough to knock off the puck. He's a puck possession guy. But I'm sorry. He on a consistent basis, he cannot put the puck in the ocean, much less the net. Can't. I mean, I know there are so many of you out there that disagree and think that he's the second coming because he was the number 2 overall pick. And he's just a kid. He's still young. Despite all the, NHL time that he's had already. Still a young player. He's still developing. But I think we kind of know what he is. He just lacks that touch around the net. Doesn't score off the rush. He is what he is. What's he going to top out as? 15 goal a year guy? Maybe on a good year, 18, maybe 20, maybe. Not much more. Pretty good playmaker, though. Put him with the right guys, maybe with some finishers. Maybe he picks up his points that way. Maybe especially on the power play, surround him with your best players. And then he gets some, deflections and, dirty goals down low. Could be a role for him there in Seattle that way. But it wasn't happening here in New York. And here, at the end of the season, they were not giving him the contract extension that he wants. No way. Wasn't happening. They were not committing to Capo Caco. So they did the right thing. They trade him. They got some draft picks back. They get Will Borgen. Will Borgen's not a sexy guy, but he does fill a role for you right now. He is an NHL caliber defenseman, middle 6, defenseman. He's in your top 6. So, a fourth guy, maybe a second pair guy, which is where he played with K'Andre Miller against Florida. Or a third pair guy. On a really good team, he's probably a third pair guy. But when the Kraken went to the playoffs a couple years ago, hey, he played key minutes for them. Not a bad guy. Gives you some toughness on the back end. Certainly gives you some experience on the back end. No issues with what they got there. They could also flip Borgen ahead of the trade deadline if things aren't going well in New York. You could flip him. You could also flip Urho Vakanainen as well, who you got in the Trouba trade. Because defense rules at the trade deadline or ahead of the trade deadline. Teams are always looking for NHL defensemen. So the Rangers could recoup some draft picks, maybe a prospect, something along those lines. We'll see. And a best case scenario. I know not a lot of best case scenario talk going on this podcast, but in a best case scenario, maybe it's a guy that helps you get back into the playoff picture just by playing a steady role on your blue line. He's been okay so far, since joining the lineup. Again, not sexy. He's not going to stand out a lot unless he's dropping the gloves or lays a really big hit, but he does a lot of the small things that you need. So, my take on that, if I had to throw a grade from the Rangers' point of view at this trade, I'd say, it was C+ trade. Oregon's fine, get some draft picks, and you kind of tie a bow around the Capo Caco era, if you will. So what's next though for the Rangers? So I referred to Larry Brooks's column a little bit ago. Larry's column over the weekend, in which he just absolutely smoked the players, basically calling them a disgrace to the Rangers sweater. The core, focusing on the core, and how they've poisoned the locker room and setting a terrible example for the younger players, the younger core that's coming up. He basically said that they've quit. Elliot Friedman then came on his 32 Thoughts podcast, and he said, referring to Larry Brooks' column, he says, hey, if you know Larry Brooks, this guy, nobody is embedded, a media member. No media member is more embedded with that organization and has more contacts, direct contacts, high-level contacts than Larry Brooks. So if he's saying all this, if he's blasting the players and basically saying they're not done yet, it's not just trade Trouba, trade Kakko, and let's let things settle. No, the Rangers are looking to do more. So what is more? That sets the stage for what is more. Do they go all in? They try and go crazy, try and maybe trade for Mikko Rantanen. We hear that, I'm just throwing a name out there. We hear that trade or contract negotiations really are not going well in Colorado between Rantanen and the Avalanche. Would the Rangers throw in picks and, Gabe Perreault and, K'Andre Miller, and I'm just making it up. It'd have to be a haul to get a Mikko Rantanen. Or, as Greg Wyshynski referred to when he was on the show a couple weeks ago, the ESPN veteran, are the Rangers playing the long game here? And they're clearing out the cap space, give a look to Othman, maybe give a look to Perreault if you sign him at the end of the season for a few games, maybe into the playoffs if you actually make it. But are you playing the long game to clear out that money to go try and hit the home run and sign Mikko Rantanen, sign Jacob Chikrin to play defense for you? Is that the long game that they're playing? Or are they still trying to salvage this season? Or both? What are they doing? What's the plan? They're clearing out cap space. They're not quite bringing in real high-level talent to the current roster. So what are they doing? Long game? Short game? Both? Do they know? Chris Drury, listen, as much as we said, we expected the Rangers to take a bounce back. Oh, Peter Laviolette in his second season, teams historically take a step back, which, by the way, we debunked on the Forever Blue Shirts website. You should go check out the article. We debunked that theory. But if you believe all this stuff, that's fine. Okay. And I believe the Rangers would take a step back this year. But step back meant maybe from first place to second or third place in the division, not to last place in the division, maybe last place in the conference later tonight. I didn't see that coming. I did not see 4-15-0 coming. I did not see the quit in this team. Now, we didn't see it last night. I didn't see quit in the Rangers last night. But for long stretches of this 4-15-0 stretch, I've seen a lot of quit. I've seen a lot of non-compete. I did not see that coming. Did not see that coming. I could see the Rangers struggling a bit this year, but I didn't see them well below 500. Well, technically, there were only 3 games under 500, NHL 500 at 16, 19, and 1. But I did not see the day-to-day, game-to-game, just atrocious play that we've seen from them. And yeah, it was better last night. Again, rating the losses, rating, not rating, rating those losses. So yeah, so we'll see what's next. K'Andre Miller was another -3 yesterday. If you trade him, it's got to be for another defenseman, I think. It's got to be somebody that you believe in can stabilize your defense core, and because you don't believe in K'Andre Miller long-term anymore. So you don't want to give him that contract as an RFA with arbitration rights at the end of this season that he's due because he's up, and he's a couple years out from becoming an unrestricted free agent. If you are deciding that he is not going to be part of that core for you, then you trade him and you try and you have to replace somebody replace him on the left side of that defense. Is Thomas Chabot that guy from the Ottawa Senators? Is that good enough for you? It's a thought. But what is next? Because there's more next. Elliott certainly harped on that. Larry laid the case for it. I certainly believe it. And does it involve Peter Laviolette? Man, does he look like a dead man walking right now? And I hate to say that. He is a good guy. I know him all the way back from the Islander days. And he was part of the talk show that Don LaGreca and I did together, NHL Live. And he would come on once or twice a week as a guest host. The three of us would talk after he was fired by the Islanders. And good guy. Really just a good guy. And I've dealt with him throughout his career when Carolina won the Stanley Cup and he was the coach, and certainly here in New York as well. He's a pro's pro. I think he's a great coach. It is just not happening for him this season. Call it whatever you want. Tuned out. Listen, everyone deserves blame here. From Chris Drury to Peter Laviolette to the coaching staff, certainly to the players on the roster. Everyone shares in the blame. No one is an innocent here. So Peter Laviolette's not an innocent. I just am not sure that you rush to fire him. We wrote about Sean Avery on the website the other day, talking about how, you just got to do it. It's what you do. Team's struggling, can't get rid of all the players, got to fire the coach. Chris Drury right now appears to be standing behind his coach and probably is sickened by the fact that this core group already got one coach fired. You can argue two if you throw David Quinn in there. But for now, we'll just say they got a coach fired a couple years ago with that first round exit against the Devils. And listen, Gallant again played a role in his own firing. But they got a good coach that got them a couple 100-win seasons, back to back, fired. Now they're going to get the guy who led them to the best regular season in franchise history and almost to the Stanley Cup final this year. All of a sudden, he doesn't know how to coach anymore. They're going to get him fired less than halfway through this season. Ooh. So, unless they just keep losing and losing and losing, and I guess they are, right? Chris Drury is trying not to fire Peter Laviolette. That's how I read that situation. I think Drury's disgusted. I really get that vibe. And I know we know all the stories about the players being disgusted with Drury, how he's handled his business with Jacob Trouba and Barclay Goodrow. Okay. They're disgusted with each other then. But just speaking about Drury now, I think he's disgusted with the players. And because of that, I think he's kind of throwing his support behind Peter Laviolette. So that's where we are right now with the Rangers, right? A lot to just get out there here on the podcast before we head into the new year. And, the Rangers are back at it Thursday. They got the Boston Bruins at home. Then they got the Washington Capitals on the road, one of the top teams in the league. Then they get the Chicago Blackhawks, who, by the way, play in the Winter Classic today. I'm really curious. Want to get your feedback. Are you into the Winter Classic or not? Are you sick of outdoor games, or you think they're still really cool? Do you like outdoor games, or do you love them when the Rangers are in them and just don't give a crap if anybody else is playing in an outdoor game? Yeah, where do you stand on it? I think there might be a little oversaturation with the outdoor games. One a year probably keeps the hype up better. But I'm not going to lie. I enjoyed being at and working the Stadium Series last year with the Rangers and Islanders and, the Devils Flyers. What a great doubleheader, doubleheader back-to-back days, at MetLife Stadium. I loved it. And the vibe, the fans loved it. I mean, the place was packed, 80,000 people, so yeah, that's cool. But are you going to be watching? You're going to be watching today when the Blackhawks take on the Blues. You're going to be watching all of it, just going to take snippets. You just care about the highlights, or you don't give a crap at all. Love to get that feedback from you. You can always hit me up at Twitter, at Jim Cerny. And of course, we're also at Forever Blueshirts. Okay. So you can find us there. And please continue to support us. We appreciate everything you did for us with your support in 2024. And we want to carry that over into a bigger and better 2025, both with the website at foreverblueshirts.com and right here at the Rink Rap Podcast presented by Forever Blue Shirts. So for the entire staff of Forever Blue Shirts, I say thank you very much for your support. And I certainly wish you nothing but a festive new year, a happy and healthy one. Be careful out there if you're going out there tonight. Be smart. Just enjoy yourself, enjoy your family and friends. And we'll catch you next week with the Rink Rap Podcast.